Welcome to CN Movies, the show where we review movies but from a Christian's perspective. I am the filmmaker.
And I'm the film watcher.
And today we are discussing the entire Harry Potter series as a whole. If you haven't seen our previous 8 reviews, you kind of don't have to if you don't want to. This will go over all 8 films and our thoughts on them in a very biased way though. So what we're going to discuss today is I have 5 parts to this video, and if you want to skip to a certain part and you don't want to watch the whole thing because maybe something just doesn't interest you, in the description you can click on the time codes and skip to that part of the video, so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. The first thing we're going to discuss is positives of the series as a whole. The second thing is the negatives of the series as a whole. Then we're going to rank the films. That's our ranks, what we think of the films combined into one list from worst to best. And then we're going to talk about what would happen if they actually cut down the number of films from 8 to less than 8, and would that be a smart thing? And then, could the show be a TV series? I mean, could the movie have been a TV series instead? That will be our last discussion. So, if any of those things interest you, you can skip right to them or just watch the whole video.
Have it your way.
And the first thing we're discussing is the positives of the series as a whole. So, just the series as a whole, what are some of your favorite aspects of it?
Definitely the whimsicalness of it. I guess I've always been a big fan of fantasy and other worlds, and this took a completely new world and set it in our world. I mean, it's in England, so it's not like my world, but it's modern times, but it's still, there's this whole secret society and secret other world, and that's, I think, one of my favorite things about it, is that it just opens up the possibility to another world.
Yeah.
And it makes it believable enough where, hey, there could actually be.
I know these reviews all these videos will come out after Fantastic Beasts comes out, but technically right now we're shooting these beforehand to give you guys an idea of how early we shot these videos. But so Fantastic Beasts actually isn't out yet as the time of the shooting of this video. But I'm kind of curious in Fantastic Beasts to see the world, the regular world, interacting with the
it looks like
Wizarding
it's going to be a lot more interactive.
Yeah, because like they're always in the series, they're always separated from the real world. Yeah, from the Muggles. When it comes to magic, that's why they're not allowed to do magic outside of school and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see. It is a different world. I give it that. I don't have a movie series or book series off the top of my head that I can compare Harry Potter's world to and be like, oh, it's just a copy of this world. It's not. It's its own original world.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. That's a positive. Positively, I like Harry, Ron, and Hermione. The main 3 characters were not annoying. I mean, Ron was a little bit annoying in Goblet of Fire and Deathly Hallows Part 1, because I think both those he was getting overly emotional. But overall, the main characters were great. Snape, amazing. We both love Snape. Yes, Snape's awesome. Dumbledore, I feel like Gandalf could kick his butt. Dumbledore versus Gandalf would be an actual good fight.
I would agree.
I think Gandalf.
There's actually more. There's more footage of Dumbledore fighting than Gandalf fighting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I still think that Gandalf.
Because Gandalf doesn't have to, really fight many people, because he just deals with them swiftly. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Oh yeah. No. Plus, I mean, Gandalf has to be in better shape too. He does all that traveling.
It's like 3,000 years old. Dumbledore's only like 300. So
okay, but Gandalf does a bunch of traveling, so I'm just saying I think he's in better shape.
Could be.
But yeah, some positively, I liked, even though this is also a negative, I like the fact that they didn't wuss out on, like they did with, I don't have the movie over here, but the Series of Unfortunate Events, they took the first 3 books from the series and made it into one movie. And I think that was one of the things I didn't like about that movie, is the fact that they took, and that's a series of books I do like, is a Series of Unfortunate Events. They took the first 3 books and made them into one movie, and here they took every book and made it its own movie. Which, if you could argue that these books are like 4 times the length of a Series of Unfortunate Events book, which is fair. Very fair argument. But at the same time, I like that the studio didn't back out on that. They went ahead, and of course, once they started making the money, they're like, oh yeah, of course, and let's split them up into 2 parts at the end. But yeah.
Any other positives?
I liked Hagrid. I mean, I liked Hagrid in some movies, and in some movies he was almost pointless.
Well, he wasn't in a lot of them, but
that was unfortunate.
So the characters as a whole.
Yes, I think we both agree we like characters. Good. The world is unique.
Is unique.
Yep.
And original. The music is good. You will agree.
The
with
main
that.
Harry Potter theme
The themes
is
are
good.
In general, the animation and stuff gets better.
You mean
over
the
time.
CGI?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you say animation, I think. Pixar.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The
But
CGI
yeah,
gets better.
Yes, the CGI
over
does improve with
time.
each movie. Of course, that's partially due to it just being newer. Yeah.
I think the storylines as a whole are interesting. That's because I enjoy the world that they're in. Even if it may seem boring or dragging, it's still a different world that I haven't experienced that I get to experience.
The storylines in some films, I think every film had a unique idea, at least one idea that I liked. But it just wasn't. Some of them just didn't have a whole movie's worth of ideas, in my opinion. Like Sorcerer, I liked that we got introduced to Quidditch, and Quidditch was like made to be like this really cool big thing that later on we almost saw a an Olympic match kind of it,
Yeah.
which
That would have been cool.
yeah, that's one of the negatives. Anyways,
Yeah.
so Quidditch and Sorcerer, Chamber, top of my head, I can't think of anything that I especially liked about Chamber. I like the fact that we introduced Voldemort in a different way, kind of.
You didn't even know it was Voldemort. At
Yeah,
first.
you didn't know it was You didn't know they were talking about that Tom Riddle was Voldemort. Nothing really in Chamber I liked. Prisoner was a huge shift in tone. It was still whimsical and everything, but there's a shift in tone. There's a shift in just the style, the look of everything. They introduced things in that movie that weren't in the previous movies, like the bridge that's outside the school that you just assume is there. If you watch the first two movies, it doesn't exist. Apparently, Alfonso Cuarón or whoever invented the bridge. I mean, as dumb as that sounds, it becomes though it's like in every movie after that.
Well, I'm pretty sure it is in the book because they really do blow it up in the book.
The
Like they do in
bridge.
yeah.
Well, it wasn't the first two movies.
No.
I do remember
Maybe
that.
they just didn't have the budget
And
for it.
it was in Prisoner. So Prisoner, Prisoner. The director of Prisoner, I've now seen a couple one of his other films, which is Children of Men, which is fantastic. Remember that? We watched Children of Men. It had like the 5-minute non-stops where you fall the guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was
sorry.
a good movie. And he also directed Gravity, which is pretty good. Anyway, so the director change after Chamber to Prisoner was good. Prisoner introduced new elements, including the time turners, which made huge plot holes later on. Because in the movies they didn't explain why all of a sudden time turners are just not an option.
They just.
Yeah, why didn't we use a time turner and just go back in time and kill Voldemort as a child?
Because that's messing too much with time.
I know. I'm just pointing out the obvious questions you would
Right.
have. Goblet of Fire
Good movie.
was a great balance of the earlier films and what the later films were. Yeah, and and that movie I legitimately thought Voldemort was gonna be a great villain. And then after that, I don't really have any positives to say about the Air Force films. I'm not really gonna talk about them.
Do you want to move
Do you
on
have
to
any
the
other
next one?
positives that you want to talk about?
I mean, all the positives that I still had in each individual movie are the same: the loyalty, the bravery, the fighting evil. which I
Yes,
think
there were
is
some
generic.
elements.
But I mean, it's
Yeah.
true. If you want your kids to stand up to evil, and I'm just saying this generically, you want good examples of standing up to evil and what that looks like. And there is evil in the world, and we should be trying to stand
But
up
there's
to it.
so many other movies that are better.
I'm not
examples.
saying that there isn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general,
Yeah.
there are good positives for me in this film or in these series.
So, I mean, I'm so used to asking you what your score is. That's why I almost felt like I was about to do that, but I was like, wait, no, we don't score it.
Have it your way.
The next part of our discussion is the negatives of the series as a whole. And if anybody's watched our previous videos, they know I have plenty of negatives. But I'll cut it down because you've already heard me complain for almost 8 movies or almost 8 reviews. So, my major complaints are there's a lot of wasted time in the movies, a lot of just wasted time, which people that read the books. I've noticed very consistent trend. If you read the books, you'll love the movies. So if you read the books, you'll love the movies. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that the books are probably better than the movies and they make the movies better because you read the books. I get it. But there's a lot of wasted time in the movies. When you watch a movie, every scene is supposed to advance the plot in some way, shape, or form. And when it doesn't advance the plot, you get movies like the new Ghostbusters, which has scenes that are just pointless, which you haven't seen and you don't need to see, trust me. But there's an obsession with soup in that movie that does literally nothing to advance the plot, and it's just not funny either. So,
Okay.
I mean, so and that will come later on. How I would resolve this issue. But yeah, there's a lot of wasted time in the movies. I didn't care. I mean, the Witchcraft and Wizardry, I kept saying it's a negative because it is. I mean, I personally don't care. The only thing, I think my major fault with the Witchcraft and Wizardry is when somebody fought somebody else, it didn't really feel like there was any weight to the fight. You know, when like
That's
somebody...
your main...
Well, here's what I mean. Okay, so if we're
No,
just
I
pointing
understand.
wands at each other, like, I don't feel like there's any weight to the fight. That's like when I watch... I want to say Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show. Like, I know it's a great show. Like, I enjoy the characters, and I like the storyline. But, like, whenever somebody fights, it's because it's animated. So, in my head, I understand there's no weight to the fight. Like, somebody dies, to me, they don't feel as real. And that's just personal. I get that. Some people don't agree. And so here, when people just point wands at each other and just make faces, I don't really get the weight of the fight. It just feels like, who's really stronger? I don't know. Because they're just pointing wands at each other. So I don't really know who's strong. Unless you get like a scene where like Harry's like throwing stuff at Snape and Snape's just like deflect, deflect, deflect. You know, that's kind of get an idea.
Dumbledore's whole fight on the top of the rock with like the skeletons and things?
Well, yeah.
Like, that's
Stuff
one of the best
you're
scenes.
right. But skeletons aren't throwing magic at him. Like
No.
that's what I mean. Wand-on-wand battles are my biggest complaint when it comes to fighting. Not when you use your magic against something that isn't also throwing. Like, there's scenes where people throw magic at each other and you kind of get some weight to the fight. But I
Yeah.
just mean like, I guess mostly it's like wand pointing at wand, light on light.
Well, that's all Harry and
Yeah,
Voldemort's
like it's
fights
just
were.
so dull, and that's supposed to be like the biggest fight of the whole movies.
Well, and when we watched those fan-made Harry Potter videos, they had like better action and fighting than some.
Yeah,
of them.
they're
I'll agree with that.
there was I mean they weren't better in terms of like acting or anything like that. But the one thing they did get right was the action. I did feel like the action was more.
They're very
Oh my
creative.
gosh, yeah, they were very creative. I guess that's probably what was lacking in the fights was just creative, because those fights were doing wand on wand, locking stuff. But it wasn't just like sitting there pointing at your wand and locking, and then somebody loses because I don't even know how.
The strength of will and mind.
Okay. But anyways, so I do remember Honest Trailers making a joke saying, man, this would have been so cool if this was with lightsabers. And like, ever since I've heard that, I'm like, that's so true. Every one of these fights would have been so much cooler with lightsabers. And I understand, obviously, they can't do that. That would
But
just be
I don't
Star
understand
Wars.
how that is the negative for the Witchcraft and Wizardry. Like in
No,
general,
I mean, like,
people-
and Witchcraft and Wizardry is a negative because the Bible condemns it. Just like the
Okay.
Bible condemns
That's what-
cussing.
when you say
Even
that.
if people do argue it.
Right.
Well, what I'm saying is that to me personally, like the Witchcraft and Wizardry, just like when you watch a movie that has violence, like where somebody murders somebody, like I don't condone that. And I'm not, but like it doesn't, because I'm an adult, I guess it doesn't. Like I'm not gonna, yeah. What I'm saying though is Witchcraft and Wizardry is a negative because it's a sin. Just like if we watched a movie full of murders, that would be a sin. I mean, that would it just is, and we're supposed to review these from a Christian's perspective.
Right.
So, anyways. My major flaw with the fighting is the fact it doesn't feel like there's any real weight to the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes there is, and the fan-made films do a better job. I agree. So it was possible it could have been better. And of course, and as I said in the previous review, it's just a nitpick, but Harry being red and Voldemort being green is very confusing. It's just very confusing. It makes me think there's something more we don't know about. Yeah. So, I mean, really, wasted time in the fighting.
I just thought of this.
What?
Okay, so Harry's part of Gryffindor, right? Their colors are red and yellow.
Yeah.
Voldemort was part of Slytherin. Their colors are black and green.
So you're thinking he was throwing this because why wasn't he throwing yellow then?
Well,
And
he could have
Voldemort
been-
could have been throwing black.
Well, I mean, that would have made more
Black
sense.
on yellow would have been. I would have. That'd have been
Yeah.
cool.
That would have been cool.
Like that would have still made sense because black is evil and
Or
yellow
even black
is
and
not
red,
evil.
or- I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
black
just
and-
saying. I don't know why. I just thought of
Black. I mean, black probably would. I don't know. For some reason, like a black lightsaber just can't exist because there has to be like a glow to it, and you can't just do a black glow. I guess you could. I don't know. So, anyways, I mean, just really, that's what my major negatives are in a nutshell. So much wasted time, and the fighting felt like whatever. After 8 reviews, that's all I got. So, what are your negatives?
Well, I agree that sometimes, and I have read the book, so I did enjoy the slow pace of it. But yeah, I can see your point about slow pacing. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the cussing.
Yeah, the cussing was unnecessary for movies that are aimed at.
Children. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the 10 to 15 range.
Yeah.
I guess older as you get more into the movies.
Right. But even in the very first ones, like I think
Yeah.
that they're still like Ron says.
Like the first PG-13 one was Goblet, and then it goes back to.
But the rating changes.
Yeah, and then it goes PG-13 in order, but then it goes to PG in Half-Blood. It doesn't make any sense. Half-Blood was just as dark as the other films.
So I say the ratings
Yeah.
change. But other than the, I don't have a problem with Witchcraft and the Wizardry because of, like you said, I don't know. because it's so unrealistic. Like, I realize the Bible condemns witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, if you study those verses, it's almost always talking about rebellion against God and worshiping idols. So I feel like that's a little bit different than pretending like there's magic in the world and making yourself a hot cup of tea. But I don't know. That's just my personal
all they were
opinion.
doing is making hot cups of tea.
You know what I mean?
Fair
like
argument.
magic is a tool in this world. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil, just like anything else. Like a hammer is a tool. You can literally use it to kill someone or build a house. Like that. That's my opinion about magic in these films.
This isn't like a pro-gun, anti-gun argument.
No, I'm just saying. People
Guns kill people. No, people kill people.
People have issues with these films because, like, Christians have issues with these films because there's magic and there's wizardry in it. Well, yeah, but in reality, there is no such thing as magic. Like, yes, there's spiritual powers and there's spiritual darkness, and hopefully you're able to discern between spiritual powers and a made-up fantasy book about magic. But that's my opinion about that.
Well, that's just, I don't know.
And again, we, like you were saying, we watch stuff all the time where there's murders. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't agree with the horror genre. Let me finish my sentence, please.
Sorry.
Horror genre where it's all of the movie is mass killings with chainsaws and things. Like, I'm not, like, getting onto you if you watch those things, but all that movie is about horror and murder and disgust. Like, how is that pleasing?
And I'm not condoning that either. But here's I guess the major difference is, like, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which fits what you're describing,
right,
is aimed at an R-rated audience.
Right.
An audience knowing full and well they're walking
What they're
into
getting into,
is an
right.
R-rated film, whereas Harry Potter is aimed at children.
Right.
And has witchcraft and wizardry, has cussing, and doesn't have much in the way of morals.
Well, yeah, there's a lot in the way of morals, but I agree with
It's
you.
very, I would thinly veiled is the opposite of how hidden the morals are in these movies. The morals are friendship and loyalty. That's it. For 8 films.
It's also one of the main themes of the film is Harry fighting himself
And getting over your parents in prison or being dead, which, fair enough, was good.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Harry is constantly battling his inner. Well, it's really Voldemort.
You know we're supposed to be talking about negatives right now, right?
I know.
Oh, okay. I feel like you're defending the
Okay,
films.
sorry. We can stop.
I'm just saying, it's supposed to be like the negatives, and you're over here like defending the films. Like, that
Well,
was the
I
positives.
agree. No, like I said, I do agree with you, but in my mind, the negatives aren't as negative as some people make them out to be.
Yeah, like you're just saying the negatives aren't as big of a deal to you as they are
Right.
to other people.
Yeah.
That's fine. My 2 really biggest negatives are probably more in the way of how a filmmaker thinks. There's a lot of wasted time. And that's the thing too, like, I have the unpopular opinion. I understand. Right. Most people disagree with me, and you know what, whatever. It's fine. Because there's some
a lot
films.
Of Christians agree with you.
Well, I don't care if Christians agree with me or not. But, for example, I enjoy the new Left Behind film, knowing full and well it's terrible, as you experienced the other day when we watched it, so.
Have it your way.
The next section is, well, we rank the films. This is a list we compiled kind of quickly, just going over what we think. This is not based on our score, so if you go back and look and be like, well, you give a higher score to this film, that's not how we rank this. We rank this, so this is super biased. This is 100%, did we like the film or did we not like the film at the end of the day? And you like all the films, correct?
Yeah.
All right. I only liked 3. I would only rewatch 3 of the films. It's the top 3 on this list, to give you an idea. So just because you think that a certain movie's the worst doesn't mean you think it's not worth watching. Whereas I think it's not worth watching. All right. So number 8 is The Chamber of Secrets. The reason why I gave it the lowest rank is because I believe for the 3 and 8 hours, it was like 160 minutes, almost 3 hours. There was just so much and my major gripe with the series, just a lot of wasted time. It should have been an hour and a half long film. And why do you believe it's the worst film in there?
Well, the earlier films in general, I like them. They're cute. They're whimsical, but they're
We're only
just
talking
not.
about Chamber.
I know they're just not as interesting.
So Chamber's not as interesting.
Right.
Number 7, Deathly Hallows Part 1. This one, once again, same plan as Chamber. It was just long and pointless. Chamber actually had more of a point than Hallows Part 1, but I think Hallows Part 1 is better made, so I gave it a bump over Chamber. So what did you think?
It's just so depressing. I don't like watching this one because it just makes you sad.
And there's a reason why I believe it's the cheapest movie in the series to buy. If you want to get just one movie, you can get Hallows Part 1 for very cheap. Number 6 is Order of the Phoenix, and once again, bunch of time wasted. The main plot points of this film, after watching this and Half-Blood, made me think that Half-Blood and this could have been one film. Disagree with me as you may, but we'll discuss that later on. So that's why I think it's number 6.
My biggest issue with this one, and this kind of goes back to characters a little bit, is that you hate whatever the pink lady's name is. I forgot. More than you hate Voldemort. Like,
That's true.
in general, she's more evil and disgusting to you than anything else. But so this whole movie is basically about her
And she's supposed to be a good guy.
taking over the school.
She's the government.
Well, she's the government,
Yeah.
but
She's technically supposed to be a good
you
guy.
know she's working for Voldemort, really.
Oh.
Anyways,
All
I
right.
just don't like it because she's so mean.
Number 5, Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, as some people like to argue. We get it, you guys. The British version has a different name. Anyways, so I know it's ranked number 5. I actually argued it should have been 4, and she thought it should have been 6. So we had to even it out. I believe Sorcerer is in the top half of films, even though we gave it even though it's 5th overall. I believe this film, while I don't want to go back and watch it again, had moments that I liked, because I think it's because you're introduced to the characters, and despite the fact they can they can't act. They're still like, you like them and you like discovering all the new things. So when you're watching for the first time, you're learning a lot of new things, which covers up the flaws of there's really being a lot of time wasted because you're just being introduced to a bunch of things. It's like a bunch of exposition coming at you for the next 7, before the next 7 films happen. So overall, I mean, it was an okay film. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it's like some terrible film like I would with the previous films. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I like this one because it is introducing you to the world, but that's all it is. It's all introduction, basically.
Yeah. It's just one big exposition dump, but it's all new. But I guess if you watch it a second time, it's not all new.
Yeah, that's
anymore.
why I don't really
That's
like
why it's not
watching-
worth repeating.
Yeah, that's why I'd rather watch Order of the Phoenix versus this one, because to me, at least, that one has a storyline and something's going on, but...
Number 4, Half-Blood Prince. I believe this film should have been lower ranked, but that's okay. Half-Blood Prince, as I said earlier, should have been combined with Order of the Phoenix for the plot. I guess originally I hated it because Snape went evil, and I wasn't fully aware that Snape was going to come back to the good side. So they totally played with my heart, with my
He was very sad
emotion.
after that movie.
Yeah.
And I
Like,
couldn't
I
tell.
thought they were going to ruin the series by having Snape be evil, and that was the plot twist. Like a Shyamalan movie or something. But yeah, I mean, Half-Blood Prince, it was okay, and I didn't like the fact Snape was evil. But I do remember the cinematography in this movie being better than the other films. Not better than Prisoner, but better than most of the other films we'd seen.
All right. I like this one because, well, it shows the twist of Snape possibly becoming evil. But one of the other main things about it is you trying to learn more about Voldemort. And the way that happens is with Harry's relationship with Professor Slughorn. And I think there's some humorous stuff in there. It's a little bit lighter, but at the same time, also a little bit
This film was really
darker. Well, I'm just saying that's what it felt like, that they were trying to contrast it more, because there are a lot of dark scenes, like Draco trying to kill Dumbledore actually dying in the end by Snape. I don't know. There were a lot of, but there was some cute, like the whole time that Harry Potter's on the Liquid Luck, when he's drunk about Liquid Luck, he's being like so ridiculously funny, and
That's true. I believe that was one of the best parts of the movie.
I just thought this one had a lot more interesting features about it.
Yes, the Liquid Luck was a good scene. All right. Coming in at number 3 is Deathly Hallows Part 2. And, I mean, this one was almost a shoo-in to be in the top half because it's the end of the series. So, all the interesting stuff is going to be thrown into this movie, because how disappointed would you feel if it didn't resolve? So, it resolves everything. You learn about Snape, so you learn everything about Snape. So it has its moments. I mean, it just didn't have a lot of wasted time, which is one of my biggest complaints of the series. And it was a better movie. But my biggest negative, as I said earlier, about the weight of the fight, the fight's not feeling like there was a lot of weight to them. That was my biggest fault of this movie. So, why'd you think this was the number 3 film?
Same reasons.
All the same reasons?
Yeah.
Fine by me. All right. Number 2 is Goblet of Fire, and Goblet of Fire just overall is a good film. I would rewatch it. The ending really sold it. Like, the whole film felt like another Harry Potter film. It was pretty good. It continued on the story, but the ending for me really sold it. It bumped it up from like Half-Blood Prince level to where it's at now. So, well, I mean, the whole ending's the reason. Yeah.
Well, I like this one because it's a little bit different. It's not as focused on school as the other ones are. It's all focused
on the tournament.
The tournament. And you get to meet like the people from the other countries. I don't know, it's just a little bit different. And like you said, the ending, you meet Voldemort in the flesh for the first time, and they fight, and that's all
Yeah.
just exciting. Like, it definitely stepped it up.
I do remember when Harry Potter fought the dragon in Goblet,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, come on, get like your broomstick or whatever to come help you. I was like, that's all I can think of. I'm like, if you can get it, like, yeah, I'm like they didn't make a rule about this, you know. All I could think about was how to take advantage of the situation he's in. So, the number one film is obviously Prisoner of Azkaban, and I say obviously because there's only one left, but Prisoner of Azkaban set the tone for the rest of the movies from this like kind of a kids series to it can be taken seriously. It shows that Harry Potter can be taken seriously, and it introduces Sirius Black, who becomes a major character throughout the whole series. It introduces just a lot of things, and it introduces a whole different visual style too as well. It was very basic in the first two movies, and all of a sudden becomes really interesting. And I don't know. It's the film. The film was crafted really well, despite this. I don't think the story was the best. I think Goblet of Fire had the best story in all the films, but Prisoner was shot the best and directed the best, and the humor was the best in all the movies. Especially when like the scene like the girl just opens the door and there's like a monster and goes ah, and she just says okay, I'll come back later or whatever. Like stuff like that was missing in all the other movies. So yeah.
I think if he had been able to direct all the rest of them, it would have been.
I think
much
we got
better
burnt out
series.
though.
Well, yeah.
We would never got Children of Men. But anyways, why do you think it's the best film?
Basically because of the directing, honestly, because there was a lot, like you said, there was a lot of different aspects that were. It wasn't just the kids. Like, I'm gonna stop.
I think the best way to describe it is just it's the most unique.
Yeah.
It feels like the most unique of the films.
Mm-hmm.
The last four all kind of feel the same. Goblet kind of feels like the last four, but more lighter. Prisoner feels like its own. Prisoner feels like it almost could have been a film by itself outside the series.
Yeah.
They would have had to do some explaining about the world, but honest to goodness, I think Prisoner of Azkaban could have been its own film outside the series and been received well. It could have been just one film.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Prisoner. Whereas the rest of them feel like they need to be part of the series, otherwise you can't enjoy it the same. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have it your way.
The next thing we're gonna do is talk about if we could cut down the number of films, and that's actually I think it was my suggestion as we watched these films, and I think it came after we watched.
Well, here's my argument against that.
I haven't even explained to them. They
go
don't
ahead.
know.
Go
You're
ahead.
arguing at something they don't even know about yet.
Cut
So
down the
as I
number of
watched the
films.
series, I think it was about the part we watched Half-Blood, and I'm like, they could have cut down the number of films, and we could have had a better series of films. And so here's my suggestion, and track me here. I understand that this probably won't be agreed upon by everybody, but I believe that Sorcerer and Chamber could have been one movie. Plot, we're talking about just the plot, because there's so much filler, I believe, because they had felt like they'd stick everything in from the books. This could have been one movie. Okay, we could have gone through both years in one movie, and I think we'd have been fine. The midway point of the movie being meeting Voldemort in the back of the head, and the second half of the movie being about Tom Riddle, that guy you just got introduced to at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been an interesting film. Chamber of Secrets, Sorcerer's Stone. Sorcerer's Stone wasn't really that important to begin with, so it doesn't need to be a whole film. Prisoner and Goblet, their own films. That was fine the way it was. Half-Blood and Order, one film. And I know that's probably actually the hardest one to combine into one film, because this kind of makes sense if you wanted to make it into one 3-hour film, like they wanted. But this one, I say, because there's just so much. Order felt so almost pointless. There was like maybe a few things in Order I felt like you needed to know, and everything else was just you didn't need to know. So I felt like they could have combined these two films, which probably is the hardest sell. And then these two is an obvious. Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 obviously should have been one film. Right? I mean, you can agree. Can you agree with Hallows
I'll
Part
agree
1
with
and 2?
that one.
Okay, I understand you probably don't agree with the other two, and I get it. And I get that the studio, by making each one its own film, made more money. I get that. Solely from a quality or quantity perspective, I believe that we could have had, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could have 5 films in the series, and I personally would have enjoyed it more.
You would have been the only one.
I believe other people would have as well, but I understand the perspective of having them all as their own
This is
film.
okay. So one of the biggest problems with book to movie adaptations, everyone always says that the movies don't stay true to the book. They don't have all the information.
And the reason for that is
It's
because books and
are different
movies
than
tell
movies.
stories differently.
Yes,
Yes.
and I understand.
Everyone forgets this.
But when you have a huge bestseller series that everyone and their
Mhm.
brother has read,
I get that, yeah.
and you start making movies out of them, and everyone and their brother loves the movies too, then
Mm-hmm.
you're doing something right.
And that actually transitions very nicely into our next topic, which I believe is part of this, is could Harry Potter been a TV series? A 7-season, like purposely 7-season TV series. Each season being each school year. You could have gotten everything in the book. And I'm talking, by the way, not like NBC, ABC, where it's going to be a ton of filler and the quality's not going to be as good. I'm talking like HBO, whoever made 11/22/63, which I think was Hulu. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a channel that could afford it, Showtime, whoever could afford it, and make just a good series. And so you have like maybe a 10 or 12 episode season for each year of school. So the beginning of Sorcerer's Stone, you get to learn about everything, and maybe and then they go through that, and then at the end of it, you meet Voldemort in the back of the head. It's like every book is set up almost like a TV show like that.
I would watch that TV show, but at the same time, your audience is kids. Kids don't, in general, I don't know. They watch their cartoons.
But the audience wasn't for kids once we got to Prisoner.
Once you got to Prisoner, but that's because the kids who are watching this are growing up.
And
As the kids who watch it grow up.
I understand we can't go back in time and change this.
Right.
Now, what I'm saying though is, I think if they want to get really money grubbing, and I'm okay with that, by the way, for this alone, if they want to be really money grubbing and make this series into a TV show that's done correct, that's done on, I mean, that'd be kind of a hard sell because you won't have the actors and everybody's like, the movies were. I almost feel like a TV show should have been done first, or should have just been done, because 7 seasons, you would have gotten everyone would have been thrilled. Oh my gosh, we got everything in the books. Yes, because each episode's like 40 minutes, and if you got 10 episodes a season, that's 400 minutes.
That
which
feels
is,
like it's dragging on. How can
No.
you say that nothing happens?
well, no,
in
they would have
Sorcerer's
to add they'd probably have to add some stuff.
add stuff
but
that
here's the
wasn't
thing,
in the
they wouldn't
book.
have to skip through the school year.
And
They
then
could.
the book lovers would hate
Are
the
you
TV show.
are people seriously going to tell me after enjoying 3 hours of Chamber of Secrets that and people telling me I wish there was more movies, that you wouldn't have enjoyed some extra material added to the Harry Potter universe that wasn't in the books? It would have given you more motivation to watch the series. And as long as the extra material didn't conflict with everything else is already established in the books. If it didn't conflict with that, why not? I don't understand. Now, I do agree, and that's why I say 7 seasons is not 8 seasons, because could you imagine a whole season of Deathly Hallows
No.
Part 1? My goodness gracious, no. Never. And even if you want to get cheeky and say that Sorcerer and Chamber should be 1 season, because there's not a lot in Sorcerer, and there's not a lot in Chamber, like it could have been 6 seasons, 6 or 7 seasons. I just think that as a TV series, Harry Potter, the TV series, I would watch. I would kind
I
of
would watch
be
it too, but that's because I love the books and I love the movies. So.
But I'm saying I'm not thrilled by the movies, and I would watch a TV show because I think the way the story is presented it would be better presented as a TV show,
Okay.
a well-made TV show, with someone with a budget who will let them only do like 10 episodes a season. They don't have to be 22 episodes. Because my goodness gracious, that would go on forever. Because it can't be just a 30-minute episode. It has to be an hour-long episode.
Well, the other problem you have with that is having the actors stay at the age they're supposed to stay at.
But here's the thing, and track me here. So each movie they're supposed to get a year older, right? Each TV season comes out a year in TV. If you ever watch, I know you watch TV. Each season comes out each year. So year 1 would be season 1. Year 2, season 2. Year 3, each actor would actually grow at the appropriate age and not have to assume they're a little bit younger than that they really are. Yeah, it actually would work out perfectly. The only really thing is my thing is, if you're gonna do that though, it can't be on like ABC or something. It has to be on a channel that will allow them. You have 10 episodes, like Game of Thrones, where you get like 10 episodes. You get an hour for each episode, which actually would be even more than that. 400 minutes, I said. You would get 1,000 minutes. Wait, no, you get 600 minutes.
I
Because
just
it's
feel like
60
it's
minutes.
Too long.
You say that, but I disagree. I actually disagree with you. So I believe everyone would be pleased by it. I could be wrong. We'll see.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it's just an idea. I'm just spitballing. Cutting the number of films. If somebody did like a fan edit of the films into 5, I'd be interested. If they made it a TV series, I'd be interested. So, yeah. Do you have any ideas
Any ideas?
for Harry Potter? Is there any other way? Is there any way you think they could have improved the films?
The only thing I think that they could have improved is by cutting out some of the dead in the beginning couple of movies, but explaining a little bit more in some of the ending movies.
I agree. They could have cut out dead time. Maybe cut the runtime. Maybe they didn't have to feel like they had to have the runtimes at like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe the first couple films could have been just 2 hours.
Or an hour and a half.
I feel it could have been rushing a bit. I mean, Chamber, I almost feel like definitely should have been an hour and a half, but Sorcerer could have been like 2 hours. And definitely, yeah, in the last 4 films, not leaving so much for me to have to ask my wife while I'm watching them. So, agreed. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed our discussion on the Harry Potter series, and hope it didn't feel too much like we were just freewheeling it. Well, I hope they thought it was kind of entertaining. If not, that's unfortunate. Look how far they got, and they're still watching.
It's like, I hope you think I'm pretty. Just leave
I
it.
hope you think I'm pretty. Anyways, so stay tuned as tomorrow we finally do the promised episode that we promised like a week ago of Finding Dory. We review Finding Dory tomorrow. Finally. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if you were watching all these episodes and you're like, when is Finding Dory going to happen?
So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned, subscribe, and bye.